everybody, welcome to Thursday Night Live here at Grumpy Acres Farm. This little segment I call Full Spectrum Preparedness, and you know the last 4 or 5 years, the one thing that we learned was we cannot rely on disrupted supply chains or a government that does not work in the best interests of its citizens. In fact, we're going to be dealing with the fallout from that for quite a while. And it begs the question, a lot of people ask themselves this: what does it mean to be prepared? They thought they were prepared, and then they found out that they weren't. So the big question is, what is preparedness, and how do we move from simply stockpiling food into achieving a more self-sufficient lifestyle? All right, listen, guys. Welcome to Grumpy Acres Farm. Tonight we're going to explore the preparedness continuum. So for a long time, I have held the belief that preppers and homesteaders are not too terribly different, and they exist on the same continuum. And historically, they've been at odds with each other because they felt that they didn't have a lot in common, when in reality, they have everything in common. All right, so we're gonna talk about that tonight, and we're gonna discuss some milestones along that you'll go past along the way on this continuum. Before we get started, though, I want to say hello to everybody in chat. Local Prepper got here first. He was here at 11 o'clock this morning, guys. You guys got to get up pretty darn early to beat Local Prepper, man. He's on top of it. Starla's here. Gregory, good to see you tonight. So what we're going to, and also, listen, if you're a longtime viewer of this program, this video is going to cover a lot of ground that we've already covered in different videos, but I'm taking this as an opportunity to bring everything together into one unified idea and presentation. So this is actually the first in what right now is a 3-part video series. It may grow into more. I don't know. I'm still developing the other 2 parts. So we'll see what happens, and if I decide we need to break it down and get more granular on that. Okay, so like I said, tonight we're gonna talk about 3 things. We're gonna talk about the 3 phases of the preparedness continuum. We've got the key milestones along the way, and what it means to reach self-sufficiency. And I've got my notes right here. So if I'm looking this way, I'm reading my notes. I want to make sure that I keep it going in the right direction for you guys. All right, first off, let's talk about the 3 phases of the continuum. So preparedness is not a destination, it's a progression. Where you are in a journey to depend, where you are in that journey depends on the skills and knowledge and mindset that you have. All right. So the 3 phases of the preparedness continuum. We've got the first phase, which is the prepper phase. We've got the second phase, which is the Prep-Steader phase, and then we've got the third phase, which is the Homesteader phase. So let's briefly go through each one of these stages and define what they are. Let's get a definition of it. So here's the definition I came up with: the prepper phase. This is the foundation of readiness phase. Okay, this is where we lay the groundwork for everything that comes after it. So the prepper is someone who has recognized the need to prepare for emergencies and has begun taking action. And there's the key word right there: taking action. Talking about it and reading about it does absolutely nothing. All right, so we need to take action in this. And the primary focus of this is short-term survival. So we're talking from weeks to months. Some people, the more advanced kind of preppers, they've got stockpiles for years, but most people don't have the facilities, the money, or the time to do that, right? So most people are only concerned about weeks to months, a year at the most. All right. So some of the common activities that we see in the prepper phase is stockpiling of food, water, medical supplies, learning basic survival skills such as fire starting, first aid, and water purification. They create bug out plans. We make plans for moving from point A to point B in the event of an emergency and the routes we're going to take. And then a lot of preppers go overboard on this. They acquire firearms and self-defense training. Now, I say overboard. There's no such thing as being too prepared as far as self-defense goes, but doing it at the expense of everything else is a real problem. All right. So we need to make sure that we focus on that. So you guys got anything else you'd like to add to the prepper phase so far? Go ahead and put it in the chat. I'm going to be spending a lot of time looking at the notes and just going through the presentation. And so if I miss anything, I apologize. We'll take a break between each section so we can see if there's any questions or comments. You know, some of the challenges. Here's the challenge of being in the prepper phase. Prepping is a solution, a finite solution to what could be an infinite problem. Stockpiles run out. You know, you end up not having what you need to survive. You have a heavy reliance on stored goods instead of sustainable systems. You know, the whole point of the prepper phase is getting through short-term disruptions, all right, natural disasters, things like that. Anything longer than that, and it short circuits your plan, and you end up having to look at alternatives, all right. And so this is where progressing up the continuum, whenever you realize that, and you realize that you're looking at a finite solution, you start looking at longer, more sustainable ways to do it. And that's when you enter the Prep-Steader phase. Now, the Prep-Steader is a prepper who recognizes that stockpiles alone aren't enough and begin incorporating self-sufficiency skills and infrastructure. And the key one there is infrastructure. We start building the base for sustainable systems. All right. Common activities that we see in this phase. We start gardening on a small scale. We start doing livestock, small livestock, rabbits, quail. And personally, this is how I started out. I started out with rabbits and I started out with quail. We did not get chickens until we actually moved on the property, but I learned animal husbandry and I did that for years. And I turned our backyard garden in suburbia into about an 800,000 square foot garden. We were the only garden on the entire subdivision that was that big, right? And there were people that had much larger lots than we had. You know, but you also start thinking about acquiring land with the intention of developing it as a homestead. So this is different than the prepper phase. Because in the prepper phase, you might acquire some land as a bug out location, someplace to bug out to. When you're acquiring it to homestead, there's a whole different set of things you want to take into account. And that's not saying, I'm not saying that your bug out location cannot be turned into a homestead. In fact, in a perfect world, that's what we want to shoot for. But a lot of people have bug out locations that are not meant to be homesteads, at least not yet. Another thing that you invest in is off-grid energy solutions like solar, water, wood heat, things like that. Yes, you'll do that in the prepper phase, but whenever you move to the Prep-Steader phase, you start working on a much larger scale, and you hone in on it, and you develop these systems so that they are. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. My wife is letting me know that everybody but Turk got into the run tonight. The birds, you know. So, you know, we start building these systems that are more self-sufficient and more sustainable. You start expanding your water storage, where you go from, as a prepper, you may store 6 months worth of water. On a homestead, I've got sustainable water. If it rains on a regular basis, I don't have to turn a hose on for 6 months, right? And that's not even getting into any water stores that I've had. And then we've got the well. So we want to develop a well. If you've got the ability to have a well on your land, that's when you start developing it, right? So you'll notice a lot of these things overlap, right? So you're going to be a prepper. and you're going to start doing these things, and you're going to build the base for these other skills and infrastructure that come your way. And the next one, and this one I think is the key. This is an activity that I think is key in the prep starter phase. Strengthening local community and bartering networks. So you start building ties in the community. You either start building a community, or you move into one and you start developing the community around you, and you start developing barter networks. You know, a lot of preppers and prepper groups, they've got the plan that if something happens, they're gonna close the gates and they're not gonna come out until things blow over, which is a solid strategy. When you start moving to the prep starter phase, you get to where you want to interact with the community. You want to be able to influence the community and trade with other people, because you're not going to be able to make or grow or develop all the materials that you need to get by long term. All right. So some of the challenges. So here's some of the challenges. Number one, and this is the big one. This is where a lot of people have a problem with it. It requires a shift in lifestyle. It's less convenient, and there's more self-reliance. There's no running your car to the shop every time you need something done with it. You learn to do it yourself. It's extremely inconvenient. Not like you're, because number one, you're living away from cities and stuff. Number two, you got to be able to fix whatever you're doing with what you have on hand. Next one, buying constraints. Land, equipment, tools, that's expensive. I'm here to tell you right now that is an expensive endeavor. And you start looking for ways to find inexpensive alternatives. I'm not going to say cheap, I'm going to say inexpensive. You learn how to barter, you learn how to look for really good deals. All right. And the next one, you need to increase your knowledge base and skill acquisition. You need to learn more. You need to become more well-rounded. A lot of preppers and a lot of beginning prep starters have a very narrow focus in their skill set, and I was guilty of it. I was guilty of it whenever we moved into the prep starter phase. But you learn, and you broaden your skills, and you know the object is not to learn every skill as an expert. The object is to have enough knowledge and enough skills that you can carry on a conversation with somebody who is an expert, right? So when we want to transition into the next phase, which is the prep starter phase, we're committing to homesteading lifestyle as a primary way of living, and we're monetizing aspects of the home style for self-sufficiency. I don't know why that's so hard for me to say tonight, but you want to become self-sufficient to maintain the household, right? You guys got any comments or questions about the prep starter phase? You know, who in here, put a 1 in the comment if you're still in the prepper phase. Put a 2 in there if you're starting to move into the prep starter phase. I know a lot of people here in the chat are moving into that prep starter phase, and it's a big challenge. It can be daunting at times, right? And if you're watching the video on replay, go ahead and comment down below. Let everybody tell us where you are, man. You know, don't give away any secrets, but just let us know where you are. We want to know where everybody is out there, so we can give everybody a hand. Paradise Stanley says we're probably a 2. So they're moving out of the prepper phase and into the homesteading, or the prepperstead phase. Prep-Steader. Ugh, can't talk. All right. So now let's talk about the homesteader phase. This is where we really truly begin living self-sufficiently. All right. So the definition of a homesteader is someone who transitions from just preparing for emergencies to actively living a self-reliant lifestyle. Primary focus is permanent self-sufficiency. That's key. Becoming self-sufficient is key. And I'm gonna modify that. I'm gonna say becoming modernly self-sufficient, because in today's world, I honestly don't think that any one person can become self-sufficient, because there's too many moving parts. So we modify that. We call it modernly self-sufficient, which means that we're able to handle as many problems on the homestead as possible with the tools, materials, and skills that we have. All right. What we don't have, again, we get from the community. We get help from the community. All right. Common activities. Here's just some common activities that you'll see in the homesteading phase. Full-scale farming or livestock operations. Now, I thought it was very interesting that the full-scale farming or livestock operations. This shows that you don't have to be large scale on everything, and the reason is, again, community. We're producing food, energy, and resources on a daily for daily living. We're going out there, we're gardening, we're butchering animals, we're cutting wood for energy, we're harvesting water from various forms, but you're doing that as part of your daily living. Next one, deep integration into local community networks. Okay, this is where if you guys have ever watched Life Done Free, Tag did a couple of panel shows where they talked about building community, and so you've got your clan, which is your family. You've got your tribe, which is all the people in your inner circle. All right, the people that you trust with your wallet and your life. The people in your clan you trust with your wife, but everybody else you should be able to trust them with your wallet and your life. Then you've got the bigger communities. This is where we've got the community that isn't part of the inner circle, but you live in the same locale. And then you've got all these other communities out there. And as things happen, these communities overlap like ripples in a pond. Like you throw a bunch of stones in the pond, and you see them overlap. And this is where you get deep into the integrating into local networks. All right, you start meeting people in other circles, and you start doing it. Uh-oh. Cuck V Farmer said, just stop by to say hi. Got to go to bed. It's 3 a.m. Comes off early, and he'll watch the replay while he's feeding his cattle tomorrow. 6,000 head. Sounds to me like somebody's doing some large scale ranching right there. Maybe Cuck V's moving into the homesteader phase. Well, we don't know. We'll see. And then the last common activity that we see is monetizing homestead skills, farmers markets, agritourism, education, and these are all things that as a community here locally we have discussed doing, and we're trying to actively move that way. And hopefully this summer it starts in earnest for some of us. All right. So some of the challenges. We talked about the challenges for the other two. Let's talk about the challenges for the homesteading family. Number one, you have a significant workload. Self-sufficiency is a daily effort, a daily task, and it takes a lot of energy, a lot of time. You working a 9 to 5 and building a homestead is very hard and very taxing. All right. The next one, dealing with government regulations and taxes. Yes, this is a huge challenge whenever you start moving in the direction of monetizing your homestead and becoming self-sufficient, because Sons of Hacks, 100% self-sufficient sounds exhausting. Community support eases burdens and skill knowledge. Absolutely. But you as far as dealing with the government, locally, the state of Kansas is trying to stick its nose into every little bit of business you can do. All right. The next one, security risks. Homesteaders can become targets for theft and scrutiny. Yes, absolutely. In fact, there are people in the chat right now that I know have been victim of crimes while trying to build their homestead. Right, in the chat, I know these people have had it happen to them. You're out there on an island. Your homestead is an island in the sea of the community, and we have to be cognizant of this and remember that security is very important. We never walk away from it. All right. Now the ultimate goals here. This is the end game. This is everything that we've worked through the prepper phase and the prep steading phase. and the homesteader phase, these are the ultimate goals. This is what we're striving for. Full sustainability, where reliance on external systems is minimized. A community-based, barter-driven economy, and passing knowledge and skills to the next generation. That one right there. Passing on, I'm going to say that again because it bears repeating. Passing knowledge and skills to the next generation. Because let's face it, guys, does us absolutely no good to become self-sufficient and live off the land and not do anything with the system, and then for us to die in it, for all to go away, and all the knowledge and skills that we've learned to just disappear. You know, what's Rutger Hauer say in Blade Runner? To disappear like tears in the rain. And that's what happens if we don't start passing this on to the next generation, passing on the skills, the knowledge, and most importantly, the mindset. All right. You guys got any comments about the three phases? Is there anything you think I missed? You want to add anything to it? Feel free to put it in the comments below. We'll take a little pause right now. Let me get a drink. You know, and I firmly believe that this continuum exists. Historically, preppers and homesteaders have butted heads because they didn't see each other as allies, and they didn't see each other as holding the same values. But in reality, they do. Now, here's the thing about the continuum, and it's going to come into play when we're going to talk about the milestones next. But it's going to come into play here, and it's something to remember. You're traveling this continuum. You may not make it to the next phase. You may not want to make it. You may not have the financial ability to make it. You may not have the physical ability to make it. That's okay. You're striving. You're always moving forward. And every opportunity you get to move forward on that continuum, you try to take it and you move as far as you can before the reality situation stops. And face it, we get old, we run out of money, all that stuff. But we keep moving forward. We always progress. Just like the quote said, and I really wish I knew who said that quote. I didn't get it. I didn't get who said that quote, but let me scroll back up here. Preparedness is not a destination. It's a progression. Where you are in this journey depends on skills, resources, and mindset. I've said something to that effect quite often, but I've never been able to say it that eloquently by myself. Yes, Yoda says you have to put personalities aside in order to work together. Parrot-eyed Stanley, it's definitely a sliding scale. You can be further along in certain parts and maybe behind in others, and it's all about how each person builds their stops along their journey. Absolutely correct. And you're going to see that. Let's start talking about the milestones. So I wanted a way to somewhat allow people to quantify where they are on the continuum. So I thought about it, and what I did was I came up with a set of milestones that we passed. I came up with 51 milestones. And we're going to go through them, but we're going to go through them kind of fast. But you're going to see that there's a lot of overlap here, and in fact, there's some question about it. Now, if you want to use these milestones, you want to see what I developed for this milestones, because I'm going to give it to our community at a meeting so that people can do some self-assessment. If you go to the community page on our channel at 8:15 tonight, right when we started this, it posted the milestones and how to use the milestones to find out where you are. Posted there. All you have to do is copy it off, put it on a piece of paper, and print it off, or put it in a Word document or whatever, and then follow instructions on it, and you can use it as a tool. All right. So let's talk about the milestones. There's key milestones along the journey. And now that we've defined the three phases, let's talk about the milestones that mark the progress along the preparedness continuum. So we've got the prepper phase. So some of the milestones: creating a 72-hour emergency kit. Man, everybody I know that's a prepper, that's one of the first things they did, because it gives you a sense of achieving something. Stockpiling 3 months worth of food and water. Yes, I said 3 months. Everybody that's out there shouting at me going 6 months, you said 6 months in videos before. Just relax, we'll get there. All right. Assembling a first aid and medical supply kit. Everybody does that. Learning basic self-defense and firearm safety. Developing a bug out plan and emergency contacts. Learning how to purify water from natural sources. Building a financial emergency fund. Practicing power outage and grid down scenarios. Participating in local prepper networks and groups. And understanding basic food preservation techniques, canning, dehydrating, so forth. Now, if you were listening to that, that may sound a little familiar. So those 10 things cover the 10 points of the full spectrum preparedness that I push. And you've got the 4 core principles: food, water, shelter, security, and then you've got 6 secondary principles that build on those. You've got communications, financial, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank here, community, transportation. Oh, I'm terrible. I can't even remember my own system. How terrible is that? Anyway, I'm going to do a video on it. I'm drawing a complete vapor lock on my brain right now. So hang on a second. I gotta do this. I gotta pull this up so I'm not looking like a complete idiot here. Let's see here. 10 core categories. So we've got food, water, shelter, security, and then the 6 supporting ones are communication, transportation, power, energy, financial preparedness, mental and spiritual resilience, and community. Oh my gosh, I don't know why was that so hard tonight, guys? Yoda wants to know what 3 months of food looks like. It depends on where you are on the continuum. Depends on where you are on the continuum. It can be canned food, it can be freeze-dried food, it could be on the hoof, it could be on the wing, all kinds of difference. Okay, so then we get into the prep starter phase next, and this list is longer, and you're going to see a lot of overlap here. All right, you're going to see things that are prepper related, and you're going to see things that are homesteading related. All right, so we're going to start growing a small garden and successfully harvesting our food. Guys, listen. A lot of people in the prepper phase, they've got seed vaults. They've never planted a seed in their life. I'm going to tell you right now, you got to plant it, and you got to grow it, and you got to harvest it, and you got to eat it in order for you to be considered a gardener. All right. Seeds sitting in a seed vault don't do you any good. And not knowing how to plant them and grow things makes them worthless. All right. So this is when we start moving into the prep starter phase. Keeping backyard chickens for eggs. Expanding your food storage to 1 year. So we went from 3 months to 12 months. 6 months is an intermediary step. Hey, All-American, this is where, as a permaculture design consultant, I tell everybody, before you do any permaculture development on your property, your main focus should be getting a 6-month supply of food set up. And the reason being, because it takes 6 months for you to develop a food system, gardening and all that stuff. So it's going to take you 6 months before you're raising enough food to feed yourself. So you need that 6 months, and there's no guarantee that your first crop's going to work. All right. Now let's see here. Next one, implementing rainwater collection and filtration. Cooking with off-grid off-grid methods, wood stoves and solar ovens. I'm a big advocate of solar ovens and cooking over a fire. Raising small livestock, rabbits, goats, or ducks. Not quite sure why they put goats into the small livestock category, but hey, we're just going to run with it, all right? Investing in alternative energy, solar panels, and wood heat. Yes, investing in it does not mean just buying it and having it stored in somebody else's house because you didn't have any place to put it. It means getting them up and running. little bit of heal thyself physician going on right there. Something I need to get on. Next one, developing skills in basic mechanics and repair work, learning herbal medicine and natural remedies, strengthening community connections for trade and bartering, purchasing land with homesteading potential, building a greenhouse or cold storage root cellar. Those are important because that one expands your growing season, and the second one expands your ability to preserve food long term. Practicing home defense strategies, establishing off-grid communications, ham radio and CB, producing some of your own fuel, making a wood gasifier or biodiesel. I actually know somebody in our community that is chomping at the bit to build a wood gasifier, and I think is awesome. In fact, I plan on helping him whenever he starts doing that. Learning advanced food preservation techniques. Okay, freeze drying is one of those advanced techniques. Another advanced techniques that people canning. So a lot of beginning canners and even a lot of experienced canners look at the USDA guidelines and the Ball food book, the Ball canning book, as Bibles, as coming from the mouth of God. And they look down upon what they call rebel canning. All right. There's no such thing as rebel canning. What it is, it's heritage canning. And it's more detailed. Hold on. I can't even, I'm in a live and my wife's still yelling at me. Let's see what Gregory had to say. Hang on. Where is it? How would possible isolation affect people or groups? Well, you know what? Let me get through this and we'll discuss that, okay? Let's talk about that. Let's see what else. Where are we? Building relationships with local farmers. That's a key one. Learning who does what in the community at large, and making connections with local farmers allows you to expand your ability to get food. Reducing dependencies on grocery stores, understanding sustainable building techniques, cob buildings, stuff like that, and moving towards partial financial independence, side hustles and bartering. All right. Now we've moved into the homesteader phase. This is where things really get going. We start living on our homestead full time. We're raising larger livestock like cattle, pigs, and sheep, growing enough food to sustain your family year round. We discussed that in the live the other day when Yoda found out exactly how much square foot you need to feed one person for a year in a garden. Yeah, it's a shockingly large plot of land. Producing surplus food to sell or trade. Installing a well and independent water system. Operating a fully off-grid power system. Making your own soap, clothes, and tools. That's a key one. That's a definite key one. Managing a full permaculture or food forest system. Running a business from your homestead. Hosting classes or workshops for self-sufficiency. Establishing a barter network for essential goods, things that you need to survive. Passing skills on to the next generation. That's that. Now look, this is in the homesteading phase. You can do this at any phase. In fact, you should be doing it if you're a beginning prepper, and you've learned some skills. You should be passing it on to your kids. Get involved with Boy Scouts so you can teach them skills, whatever. But we need to be passing these skills on. Out of everything on this list, I think reading it, that's probably the most important one. Let's see here. Creating a full emergency medical preparedness plan. This is taking your medical emergency kit and turning it into a long-term thing. I know a lot of homesteaders that can do minor surgery at their house. You learn on the animals and then you just take it to people. Implementing sustainable waste management, composting toilets, owning alternative transportation, horses or electric vehicles, implementing advanced security measures, encouraging and informing others to move along the preparedness continuum, achieving near total food, energy, and financial independence, and finally, number 51, living a fully sufficient modern homesteading lifestyle. Now, you can go, like I said, you can go to the community page and copy this off and read the instructions. But here's how you do this. You lay these out in front of you and you just go through and you look at them. And if you consider yourself advanced in any one of these things, so like let's go back to the prepper. Let's go back to the prepper phase. All right. Stockpiling 3 months worth of food and water. If you've got that 3 months, you're advanced at that point, you can cross that off. But you just read down the list and you cross every one of these off that your advanced skills and knowledge in. All right. And what you're left are broad categories of what you need to do. There are disciplines underneath each one of these milestones that make them possible. So you identify the broad category, these milestones that you need to go back and address, and then you find the disciplines underneath those milestones and you start working on it. All right. Now let's talk about Gregory's question about how isolation will change things. So, and I firmly believe this. A lot of people will disagree with me, but I firmly believe that this is the case. While there's an argument to be made about hunkering down and not interacting with the community, while all the craziness that people expect to happen during the SHTF or whatever you want to call it, it sounds like a good plan. But what you're doing is you're abdicating the outside world to somebody else. You're allowing somebody else to determine what the community looks like once you open your gates. All right. This is why I think the exposure of interacting with the community in times of emergency and times of SHTF is paramount. We need to be out there. We need to be active because there's no guarantee that the person that's guiding the bigger community is going to have the morals and ethics and values that you have. You may open the gates and find a hostile community out there waiting for you. Whereas if you're interacting with them and you're painting a better picture than the other guys, I like to put it. All right, and that's how closing yourself off can make a difference with your group and the outside community. We want to be a positive influence in our surroundings so that we don't have to deal with people. And let's be completely honest about this. The extreme examples that we see whenever we play without rule of law or we see in prepper fiction, yeah, that's great entertainment. But the reality of it is, chances are we're not going to see that level of disruption. What we're going to see most likely at worst is Argentina in the early 2000s, maybe like Yugoslavia in the mid 1990s, Sarajevo being under, a civil war, but full on Mad Max where you just everybody's fending for themselves, just probably isn't going to happen. Yes, it's possible. Is it probable? Not as likely as everything else, And if we prepare for all the small stuff, then whenever the big stuff happens, we're prepared for it too, right? Gregory, does that answer your question? Does that make sense, or was I rambling on like a lunatic there? All right. Okay, you guys got any comments about these milestones? What you All American says he's Negan. Yeah, that's exactly why we need to be out there in the community. What's up, Zach? Good to see you. All right, Gregory, I'm glad I was able to clarify that for you. All right, we are ending or coming towards the end. I got some key takeaways here. All right. The journey from prepper to homesteading. or homesteader is definitely a continuum. It's not a binary choice. And anybody that you run into that thinks it's a binary choice, you need to talk to them and let them know it's okay. It's okay. It's okay to be a prepper and not want to become a homesteader, but you should always be moving forward. And if your mind's open and you've got the ability to learn and such, you're going to naturally progress down this timeline. All right. Yep. Having a large network of like-minded people is key during times of trouble. All right. The next one. I laid out 51 milestones. I could have laid out 100. I could have laid out 300. You can make those milestones as granular as you want to. And if you're moving along this continuum, identify these milestones and put them on a whiteboard and work towards achieving them. These essential milestones are a good way to indicate progress, and it gives you a sense of accomplishment. All right. And this is a key one. This is the key takeaway here. The ultimate goal is not to just survive, but to thrive in self-sufficiency. All right. That's what we want to do. Surviving is the bare minimum. We want to thrive. We want to come out of it just as good or better as when we went into it. All right. So that's it for this presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it was thought-provoking at the very least. Go ahead and go to the community page and copy that off and go through those milestones and just do a self-evaluation. Be honest about it and see where you are on that. The next video, and apparently from my performance tonight, I really need to do it just for myself, if not for you guys. We're going to talk about the 10 categories of preparedness, the 10 keys to preparedness to make you successful. We're going to do a deeper dive into it. I did one. You can go back in our back catalog. I did a video 3 years ago on this, and I think what I've got now is much better, and it will supersede that other one. Not supersede it, maybe supplant it, because it's just higher quality. As always, if you want to support the channel, go down in the comments if you're on YouTube. Go hit our affiliate links if you're on Rumble. Hit the affiliate links in the description, and go use these vendors that will help you become more self-sufficient, help you along this continuum. All right, we really appreciate it. If you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Come join the channel. I've got 3 more videos in this at minimum. And then I've got what's turning out to be a 5-part series. We're going to talk about psyops. We're going to talk about how we have been manipulated and how to combat it. I'm working on that one, and as soon as this video series is done, we're gonna work on that one. Next video in this one probably sometime next week. So just stay tuned. I got a call to action though. I got a call to action for you here. All right. Ask yourself where you are on this journey, what the next milestone is for you. Well, hold on. Let's backtrack. Let's backtrack a little bit before I do the call to action. It's okay as you're going through these milestones. It's okay that you have skipped over some. You're going to find yourself skipping over some of the basic ones because it wasn't important to you. It is important to your overall preparedness plan. So you need to work on filling these holes behind you. And the second thing is, and this is really important, this is gonna trip up a lot of people as they go along this continuum. It's okay to take a step back. It is okay to be at one phase and have to backstep. Yoda and I were moving into the homesteading phase at our last place. Circumstances, you can go back and watch our back catalog and see why we are where we are today. Circumstances happened and we had to start over, and that took us out of that Prep-Steader or the Homesteader phase and plopped us squarely in the middle of the Prep-Steader phase. And we're slowly working ourselves out of this. It's going to take a couple more years to get where we were, but we're slowly working that way. And it's okay. Don't let it get you down. And this is one of the reasons why community is important, because community will help you weather these times, these backslides and help you get back to where you were and where you're going. All right. HG says make sure you got that Beano in your prepper medical kit. All right. So let's go back to the key takeaways. Just as a reminder of what I said before I sidetracked myself. Ask yourself where you are on the journey and what milestone is next for you. Take a moment to evaluate where you are and make a plan for moving forward. Make a plan. It is a purposeful. Nothing happens on accident. All right. You have to do it with purpose. The best time to prepare was yesterday, and the second best time is now. That's a great statement. I love that. The best time to prepare was yesterday, and that's most of us haven't. Yoda says I said 5 years. Well, we're gonna be moving into the homestead phase within the next 2, but we won't be fully into it for at least 5. All right. So guys, listen, I hope you enjoyed the video or the live. I enjoyed you guys. I paid attention to the chat as well as I could, and I appreciate y'all being here. Hit that thumbs up, comment down below. Most importantly, guys, go live a life done free. Take care.